Hey kids, heard you came here to learn about money. Or maybe your parents are holding you hostage with a gun to the back of your head and making you watch this financial literacy video. Either way, I'm glad you're here and welcome to another episode of ZFK Talks, where I want to break down the rule of 72 as well as the very famous Robert Kiyosaki cash flow quadrants. Are you ready? Because I am. So first and foremost, I want to open this video with a simple quote by someone you may or may have not heard of. He's kind of a big name. His name's Warren Buffett, and that is, if you don't find a way to make money in your sleep, you will work until you die. No truer words have been spoken, in my opinion, and it's something that I've been working on for the last couple of years, trying to solve that equation, because it's much easier said than done. So ultimately, what is the primary concern of this video? It's about money and setting yourself up to make more of it and have a more flexible and stress-free lifestyle. Who wouldn't want that, right? But again, easier said than done. What is money? Most would say that it is a unit of value, a measured and fluctuating unit that can be traded against other material or non-material units of value. Okay? So for me personally, I feel like money is more so a representation of time and energy at the end of the day. And that can come in many forms, but ultimately, those are the two things that you need to put into the equation to earn that physical or digital money, however you may store it. Most people don't really want more money. What they want is more time to do what they want and more financial flexibility to do what they want. And 99% of people don't have that because they don't have the fuck you money. And, it kind of comes across as shallow and belligerent to call it that, but it really is fuck you money, because at the end of the day, when you have the flexibility and the money to do what you want, whether or not you're happy is up to you, but you do have that ability to take yourself out of any situation that you don't like and do what you want. And who wouldn't want that? You know what I mean? So really, at the end of the day, the truth is that you and I, both of us, we are going to die one day. And it doesn't matter how much money we make in this lifetime. At the end of the day, it's how much time did you have and how much of that time did you get to spend doing things that you love to do. And the unfortunate reality for most is they don't build the solid framework and foundation to spend their lives exactly the way that they want to. And unfortunately for most of us, between money and maybe health concerns, those are the two things that kind of dictate our lives. And money is something that you can definitely fix a lot of things with and be able to spend more time with family and friends and doing the activities that you know and love. So why not make more of it? And that's what this video is going to be about. So again, the unfortunate truth is, if you trade your time and energy, which are finite resources that you will never get back, for an arbitrarily priced currency, you have made a poor trade. At the end of the day, there's no other way to put it. You can always acquire more currency, but you can never recoup wasted time and energy, because as you age, as the clock turns, you never get more of those things. You can always make more money, but you can never get back wasted time and energy. The big reason why I keep on referring to younger people, and I hope that I am getting a younger audience here, is because of time and investing, right? So the first thing I want to open this video with is a very, very simple thing that I have seen presented in a couple different financial presentations that is kind of like mind-blowing, especially if this is like your first time seeing it. The rule of 72 is really, really interesting. And what is meant by that is basically it is a equation to figure out roughly how much time you need to double your money. So a definition I pulled off the internet was, the rule of 72 is a quick and useful formula that is popularly used to estimate the number of years required to double an invested sum of money at a given annual rate of return. This rule can be applied to anything that increases exponentially, investment or not. So, for example, if your account earns 4% interest per year, and that is the reward you get for parking your money somewhere and letting someone else borrow it, let's say it's 4%, we divide the number 72 by 4, and that will determine how long it takes to double the money. And at 4%, basically dividing 72 by that 4, that number comes out to 18 years. So if you have 4% interest, it will take 18 years to double your money. But the funny socialist trick of our governments and infinite money printing is that you need to make more than almost 6% to 8% a year now in order to make money, because our money is currently being debased at record highs. And if you're not making more than, say, 6 to 8% on your money for interest, you're actually losing money, which is actually why it's a bad thing in some cases to just hold cash under the mattress right now. Sure, yes, it's something that you can easily draw from and keep under the radar, but you should really find different investments and different vehicles to invest your money in at the highest interest rate possible in order to grow your wealth. One of the solutions with that now is crypto. Crypto, you can park stable coins for anywhere between like 12 to 15% interest per year. And if you zoom out and apply that to a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 year period, if those said rates stayed the same, you'd be doing pretty good if you keep on compounding into that and letting it grow exponentially. So let's put a chart up here, okay? And this is where it can be pretty shocking to people that have never seen this before, as it was for me and others I've seen this presented to. And we're going to start with 3 different columns: 3% interest, 6%, and a more generous 12%. And the invested sum is going to be the same on all 3 categories for this little chart experiment, and it's going to be $10,000 across the board. Now, I realize not all of us have $10,000 to invest up front. I don't have $10,000 to invest up front, but we're just talking hypothetics, and it's always best to start saving whatever you can as early as you can, because what this chart is going to demonstrate is exponential growth, and it is a way of making money while you're sleeping, which, as Warren Buffett says, that's the best way to make sure you don't work till you die. So for 3% at year 0, you put in your $10,000. If we skip to 24 years later, according to the rule 20 or the rule 72, it would take 24 years to double your money to $20,000. That's a really long time. And with inflation, you would actually lose money, or the purchasing value of said money. And at the end of the chart, the last one we'll fill in, it takes another 24 years to double that at 3%. So after 48 years of holding that $10,000 with 3% interest, you get $40K. Pretty crap. And if you ask me, by 48 years, your $40,000 today is going to spend more like probably $5,000. So if someone offers you 3% interest, don't do it. Find other ways to invest that money into a better vehicle that will generate more wealth. The next column, at 6%, 10,000 invested at 0 years. According to the rule of 72, by year 12, you will have doubled your money to 20,000. And as we follow suit to 24 years later, it doubles again to 40,000. So in comparison to 3%, your money has doubled in half the amount of time. Doubled twice in half the amount of time. And you have $40,000 after 24 years instead of 48 years. By 36 years, it has doubled again to $80,000. And by the end of the chart, at 48 years, your $10,000 has grown to a total sum of $160,000. Okay? So the last bit of the chart is where it gets the most interesting, and this is really the reason why it doesn't matter how much it is, even if it was something measly as $10 a month, as someone that is 13, 14, or 15 years old, when you have all that way ahead of you and all those teenage years and those early 20s to start putting away a couple $100 a year when you're a kid, it's going to grow so much bigger than it would if you had waited till 25, 30, 35, 40. That time is your biggest asset and kind of way of making money if you're going to invest and kind of bounce off the benefits of exponential money growth. So I do encourage you to start putting something away as soon as you can at the best rate you can find. So at 0 years, at 12%, we have $10,000. It doubles after 6 years, which is a long time, yes, but not bad if you're just in very safe investments at 12%. And you can get this with a lot of ETFs and pooled kind of interest funds and stuff. Outside of crypto and whatnot, I do recommend crypto. I'm always going to refer back to that as the best way to earn some exponential growth. But in the traditional markets, 12% is pretty good. So you get that invested into like a basket of funds that I'm getting totally sidetracked, but you do like a basket of funds, and some of the stocks perform bad, some of them perform good, but it evens out, and then that's how you get an estimated amount of, say, 10, 12, 14, maybe at the high end, 15% interest. But for the purposes of finishing off this chart I have, 12%. It doubles in 6 years from $10,000 to $20,000. It doubles again at 12 years to $40,000. And that's without adding any money. That's just exponential growth. By 18 years, it doubles again to $80,000. Keep in mind, we're doubling your sum every 6 years. By 24 years, that original $10,000 has turned into $160,000. By 30 years, $320,000. By 36 years, $640K. By 42 years, you have almost 1.3 million. And by 48, you have a grand total of 2.560,000. Looking pretty healthy, almost reaching $2.6 million. Now, is that a ton of money in 50 years from now with the currency debasement and the inflation of our prices and things that we buy? 2.5 ain't much, but when you're looking to retire, you better hope you have a couple $1 million, because things ain't cheap, and you want to live the last bit of your life as gracefully and comfortably as possible. So with that said, this is just a very standard way of measuring exponential growth through the rule of 72. All three columns start off with the same amount of money, but with higher rates and the same amount of time. You can compound higher rates with spending more time investing, and that means investing earlier. And ultimately, if you do or don't have $10,000, you do want to focus on just general bettering of yourself and figuring out ways to make more income so that you can invest more earlier and rack up that compounded wealth and exponential growth of your bank account. That is the rule of 72. I think a lot of people would be really shocked by how much $10,000 can make you over a 48-year period at 12% interest. That being from $10,000 up to almost $2.6 million. The earlier that you see these numbers and understand them, doesn't matter if you're coming out of elementary school, you're in high school, or now college, you should really, really consider entering the market, getting some exposure to this compounded wealth as soon as you can. And, I may come on YouTube here and preach this information. I've chosen to do things different, so I'm not really following my own advice. And, I kind of wish maybe I had put some money away when I was younger. But there's other ways to make up for this quicker, and I'm getting on it as we speak, and I've just decided to use other applications or vehicles to grow my own wealth. If you want to just do something simple and save and compound wealth, this is a great way to do it. Find something over 10% interest, park your money there a little bit per year, and you're going to have very much so something once you become older rather than nothing, and that's something you want to avoid at all costs. Moving on to the cash flow quadrant. To me, it's really just a reflection and a visual representation of how you want to structure your life. Not everyone has to do it the same. Not everyone has to visit all 4 quadrants of the cash flow quadrant. However, the earlier you start thinking about this and the earlier you start planning out how you're going to attack the quadrants and how you're going to make them work for you, the better, because this is going to set you up for more success and less headaches down the road. Unfortunately, the root of all evil being money really is going to most concretely dictate how you're going to squander or flourish your success at the end of the day. So pretty much, let's just get to breaking it down. This diagram originated in the Cash Flow Quadrant book by Robert Kiyosaki. If you haven't heard of him, you should probably read some of his books. I have not read the Cash Flow Quadrants book, but I understand the concept well. It's all over the internet if you haven't heard of it, and I've bounced between all 4 quadrants myself. So I have a good feeling of what it means and how it can help you structure your life in the most desirable way possible, or the least desirable way possible if you don't use it properly. If you have not read the Cash Flow Quadrant book, which I'm assuming you haven't, a great place to start is reading Robert's other book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Really good, basic, kind of cool book on financial literacy. And another one I would recommend too to read is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Another pretty awesome book to get started with. So let's get the chart up here. Let's get our cash flow quadrants. As promised, the employee or E column, you have a job. Most people never pass the E stage of this quadrant. You have stability and less responsibility, but you also have a glass ceiling above your head. You have limited growth potential working as an employee, no matter how you swing it. A job is a great thing for most people in the last 100 years, but in today's economy, most jobs guarantee a life of poverty and struggle because the system's rigged against us. This is why it's important to consider exiting this category and diversifying income into the other quadrants as soon as you can. Your life is dictated within a job position and you have little control to dictate your life. Some people might not care so much about that, but me personally, that sounds like a personal hell and a nightmare. So that's why I've been working for the last 6, 7, 8 years to make sure that I don't get stuck in the E column forever. The next column is the S column, self-employed. You own a job. This category can be overglorified. Many real or self-proclaimed entrepreneurs fall into this category, and the majority are not all that profitable. This is where I've spent a lot of my time over the last 6 years, is the S column. I've had other friends that make more money than me as an employee with salary look at me and kind of like drool over it and be like, oh man, you're so lucky, you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business, you're doing so well. And usually my follow-up is, it looks better than it actually is, because when I do jobs for my business, I'm kind of not really usually running a business. I'm not really like some sort of whiz kid entrepreneur. I have described it the same way to them. I am self-employed. I own my own job. I make my own job and my own money. And there's pros and cons to that. There's no real concrete schedule of what I should expect to make. Sometimes I make less, sometimes I make more. I have to deal with all the taxes, and of course I don't make exactly what it says on paper because I have tons of expenses that swallow up parts of my income. So that is why it's always been very important for me to diversify. Usually have a part-time job most time of the year, waiting tables for that fast cash to fund my expenditures when the money's not there in the business, and of course using other vehicles like investments to make some money. So that brings me to the third column, the B column. This is one of the best ones. You own a system. People work for you. Business owner is what B stands for. You have created or purchased a system that works around the clock to make you and others money. Money made can be shuffled over into investments to set yourself up further down the line. Whether or not you're there, you may be heavily involved or loosely involved. You might have people underneath of you managing things. There's all these different ranges of how it works. But if you have a successful, lucrative, and profitable business that you own that is making money around the clock, that makes it really, really easy and effective to start deploying the profits from that into other investments that'll carry you and float you down the line of life. A tip for being a business owner that I've heard around, and it makes total sense to me, is you should definitely work on eliminating physical products if you can, if that's kind of the way you're going. It definitely relieves a lot of the logistical headaches out of the equation. Going with subscription services like freelance, like I do, or digital products are a far, far better alternative. I definitely fall in that category as far as my products are all digital. Depending on down the line, I might have some sort of subscription services, but YouTube's kind of like that, although I'm not making money off of it. At some point when the audience grows, I will be serving that digital content, and it's going to be an easy way to do that job from just about anywhere in the world. I don't really ever see myself doing physical products. Now, how have I bounced into this category? Most of the time I am not really a business owner. I fall in the S category. However, when I've spent time away for a couple months in Mexico in the last little while, or in the next couple months I'm planning on going away for a different career pivot. Any business that comes across my desk while I'm away and I'm not physically shooting it or sometimes not editing it myself, that's where I fall under the business category, because I'm effectively like an impromptu creative agency. I find the right people and slot them into the right slots for the client to have the project come together, and I effectively run as the glue. I kind of come up with the ideas of how to go about their marketing, who to put in the right roles to make this a success, and effectively act as that glue and act as the account in which the funds flow through. I make my cut and I send the money to the other people for the agreed upon rates. So that's how sometimes I fall into the business owner quadrant, but if I'm being honest, most of the time it's more of a overglorified self-employed type of thing that I got going on here. And for the last quadrant, the best quadrant, because you make money while you're sleeping, that is the I quadrant, investor. Money works for you. Doesn't that sound great? The key to a multi-stream diversified income is becoming an investor. This is about spending less time doing work and doing more of what you want to do, because that money is working for you exponentially over time and compounding. This is usually about playing the long game. You will truly make money while you sleep, says my script. Your investments will grow exponentially with time, and it's good to diversify your investments between stocks, cryptos, commodities like gold and silver, real estate, etc. Most investments move up and to the right over a decade's time span despite crashes. And that is all true. You want to diversify where you put your money, because some things will perform poorly at times, other things will do very well. And you don't want to have a high risk portfolio only sticking to a certain group of things or like one thing. You want to have a basket of investments and spread your eggs apart, and that's going to kind of carry you through in the future. At the end of the day, you do want to always start to shuffle yourself into the investor category, whether that be through building a profitable business, self-employing yourself. That doesn't matter. At the end of the day, whatever makes you happy and whatever is the most effective thing you can do to make that money to invest, that's what you want to get on as soon as you can at the youngest age possible, so that you can start building for your future and securing that comfortability for yourself down the line. You kind of want to build what is called a ELF business. Easy, lucrative, and fun. Doesn't that sound great? The problem with a lot of people that build businesses or they're self-employed is they build businesses that aren't really any of those things. And for me personally, there are some parts that are easy and fun about what I do, but for me personally, in my case, I don't like editing. But I also have a hard time finding people that can do it reliably on a schedule and make a good project. So unfortunately, I usually get stuck doing that part. What I really like about doing with my freelance career is the ability to travel and be location independent. Being able to edit from remote places of the world is cool, but most importantly, the part I like the most is the hands-on shooting, servicing those clients, meeting people at different places every day. It's the exact opposite of working an office job where you commute and you go to the same place every day. When I'm shooting, it's typically somewhere different and something new every single time, and like really couldn't ask for anything more awesome than that. It keeps things fresh, light, and fun. So again, the ALF business stands for easy, lucrative, fun. So you want something you can build that is fun for you, because that's going to dictate your happiness. You want it to be simple, so it's uncomplicated and you can build a formula to rinse and repeat. You want it to be profitable, of course, if you want to stay in business. Even better is location independent, like I mentioned. Being able to contract people to do jobs for me while I was away in Mexico and doing the editing and the planning and the accounting remotely was really, really awesome. However, all of these things are easier said than done, and they're all things that you need to consider when building your business. So with that said, get out of the employee category as soon as you can. Shift yourself over to self-employing yourself, eventually moving to building a business, hopefully, and begin investing as soon as you can, because when you have time on your side and you are a young teenager and you start planning these things out as soon as you can, you're going to be so far ahead of the rest, and you're just going to have more opportunities and more doors open for you down the road when you have things set up and you have your money compounding for you over that time to carry you into your senior years. My hope is that this message reaches some of the younger demographic that are just starting to ponder and decide the path of life. Reiterating myself here. Deciding and sticking to dominating your path for success is by no means easy. It's quite the feat, and it really is a lifelong, multi-decade commitment. If I had told myself graduating high school 7 years that I would still not have my shit totally together and I still wouldn't be where I thought I would be by the age of 25, I'd probably be shitting my pants, because 7 years from graduation to 25 for an adult, grown person isn't a long time, but for someone that's only experienced it for the last 7 years living outside of the school system, it's a long time. So glad I'm sticking with it. And I guess to finish off with this information, maybe you too shall decide to break out of the box and dedicate yourself to a bigger and more profitable cause, which will in turn hopefully make you a happier and more successful person. Get on investing as soon as you can. Start structuring out how you want that cash flow quadrant to look. I've just taught you the best ways to utilize that quadrant, and I've also given you a little nudge to hopefully start putting away a little bit of money for your retirement and for a rainy day. That's CFK Talks, another episode. Thanks for tuning in, and I wish you all the best with your investing future and building your path to dominate down the road. Peace out, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.